Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a chevron or zigzag baby blanket. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Dorotea and I love crochet. In this video I'm going to show you how to crochet my favorite baby blanket. I'm saying my favorite because I finished the pattern just a couple of weeks ago, and in that time I managed to complete 6 full blankets, and I'm currently working on my blanket number 7. It's super funny. Every time I pick up a crochet hook, I start working on a blanket. I even prepared bags of yarn with color combinations, and that is something I never do. I usually pick the colors and the project right before I start working on a new design, so this is definitely something new for me. The pattern is super easy to remember, so you will be able to watch your favorite TV series or listen to your favorite podcast while crocheting in almost no time. Here is the blanket. You can see how beautiful it is. There is a lot of patterns for chevron blankets out there, but most stitch patterns look more like waves than real mountains and valleys like at this one here. If you have any questions about the tutorial or the pattern or have any requests for my future videos, please leave a comment down below and I will do my best to go through as many as I can and answer them. Now, without further ado, let me show you what you will need for this tutorial. Let's start with the yarn. I will be using Aran weight yarn. I went for 100% cotton yarn because it's plant-based, very durable, you can wash it in a washing machine, and you can also put it in a dryer, which is very convenient as well. The yarn I'm using is from Yarn and Colors. It's their Epic collection. I was using 2 shades, so number 3, which is Ecru, and number 23, which is Brick. In one skein is 75 meters or 82 yards of yarn, which won't be enough for one segment of color. Of course, if you're using more than one color as I do here, each segment is asking for somewhere around 1.5 of a skein. Therefore, you're going to need around 6 skeins of brick and around 5 skeins of beige yarn if you're using the same yarn as I do here. Otherwise, please check the written instructions for more information where you will find the exact amount of yarn you need for this project. I know that many of you prefer synthetic yarns instead. A great substituting yarn that I recommend for this project is Paintbox Simply Aran yarn, which is 100% acrylic yarn, and each skein is a double in weight and more than a double in length if you compare it with Yarn and Colors Epic yarn, which means you will need fewer skeins to complete the whole blanket. In addition to that, you are going to need 5mm crochet hook, 2 stitch markers, scissors, and a tapestry needle. Now, before we start with the whole tutorial thing, let me just quickly mention a couple of things about the blanket and the pattern. I will be using very simple crochet stitches and techniques, nothing too hard or too complicated, and that also makes this blanket great for beginners. All you will have to learn is to keep your gauge or tension as consistent as it can be, so you won't end up with a blanket that is wider on one side. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet row 1 and 2 because they are not the same. After you complete your second row, you just continue repeating row 2 over and over again until you finish the blanket. And then I'm also going to show you how to switch the yarn, and that's because you need to switch the yarn every 5 rows for the blanket to look the same as mine. Measurements: this blanket is 72 centimeters or 23.5 inches wide and 86 centimeters or 25.5 inches long. This is a pattern for baby size, and there will be more sizes available in the PDF pattern. I will be calling the segments in the pattern where you go up first and then down, hills or mountains. My blanket will have 6 mountains in total. You can make your blanket wider by adding additional mountains, and you can make it longer by adding more rows to it. The pattern for the first half of the very first mountain and the second half of the very last mountain is a little bit different from the rest, so please be careful with that when you are experimenting with the pattern on your own. As always, you can find the written instructions on my blog and a PDF pattern with additional sizes in my pattern shops on Etsy, Ravelry and Love Crafts. If you're more comfortable with just following the written pattern and you want to have the exact number and measurements in front of you, the PDF pattern would be a great solution to that. The PDF pattern has 6 more sizes, which makes it 7 in total. And if you get a PDF pattern, thank you for supporting my work and allowing me to continue designing new crochet patterns and filming new video tutorials tutorials for you guys, so thank you. Now let's start with the tutorial. We are going to start with a foundation chain made of 131 chains plus 2 additional chains to lift the row to a proper height. That will give us 133 chains altogether. Now when you have that, skip first 2 and create a double crochet stitch into the third one. We are going to use back bumps of the foundation chain to build our first row. So if you look at the chain, you can see that it has 2 sides. One side where you can see 2 loops, and if you turn the chain around, you can see the other side that has just 1 loop. And that loop is called back bump. We will use those back bumps to build our first row. The main stitch in this pattern is going to be double crochet stitch and a couple of variations of that stitch. So each top of the mountain is an increase, that is more stitches made into the same stitch, and each bottom of the mountain is a decrease, so more stitches joined into just one stitch. So let's start with a double crochet stitch. We are going to start the row in the third chain from the hook, so yarn over first, then insert the hook into the loop. Remember the back bump of the foundation chain, that's the loop you need. Then grab the yarn with your hook and pull it through the loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull the loop through first 2. Then yarn over again and pull the loop through the rest. And that's your first double crochet stitch. Now, if you are planning to use stitch markers as I do here, now is the great time to use the first one. Insert the marker into the very first stitch of the row, and we are going to use the second one when we will start with row 2. Now we are going to join the next 2 stitches together with a stitch called double crochet 2 together stitch. We are going to create 2 first halves of a double crochet stitch, and then we are going to join those 2 with a second half of a double crochet stitch. Let me show you how. Yarn over first, insert the hook into the first chain. Then grab the yarn and pull it through. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through first 2 loops on your hook, and that's our first half of the double crochet stitch. Keep those 2 loops on your hook and yarn over again. Insert the hook into the next chain. Grab the yarn on the other side of the loop and pull it through. Yarn over and pull the yarn through first 2 loops on your crochet hook, and now you can see that you have 2 first halves of a double crochet stitch on your hook. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through all the loops on your hook. It's that simple, and that's your first double crochet 2 together stitch. So if you have to make more, let's say double crochet 3 together stitch, just create 3 first halves of the double crochet stitch and then join them together, and you can do that with as many stitches as you want. Now let's move on. We are now going to create 1 double crochet stitch into each of next 7 chains. Just repeat the stitch that I showed you how to do it at the beginning of this row and repeat it 7 times. When you have that, work 2 double crochet stitches, 1 chain, and then 2 double crochet stitches again into the same chain. This part is very important because this is our first increase in the pattern and at the same time our very first peak of the mountain. Alright, this is what we have so far. The next stitch can be a bit tricky, but this is only because we made so many double crochet stitches in our previous chain that it can be a tiny bit harder to find the right loop here. But please be careful and make sure you don't skip any chains here. Work 1 double crochet into each of next 8 chains. When you have that, join 4 double crochet stitches together and skip 1 chain in the middle. Let me show you how to do that. Create 2 first halves of the double crochet stitch, then skip 1 chain and create 2 more. When you have that, so when you have all 4 first halves of the double crochet stitch on your crochet hook, yarn over and pull the loop through all the loops on your hook. Now work 1 double crochet stitch into each of next 8 stitches. From now on, continue repeating 1 peak, so 2 double crochet stitches, 1 chain and 2 double crochet stitches again into the same stitch. Then work 8 double crochet stitches, each double crochet stitch into the separate stitch. Then 1 bottom of the mountain, so join 4 double crochet stitches together with a double crochet 4 together stitch and skip 1 chain in the middle of that stitch, and then work 1 double crochet stitch into each of next 8 stitches. Repeat that all the way across until there are only 10 chains left on your foundation chain. Now you can pause the video here, make all the stitches and come back and I will show you how to finish the row. Here we are at the end of our first row, only 10 chains left. We just finished our last increase or peak of the mountain for this row. Now we are going to repeat the same exact stitch we've made at the beginning of our row, so row 1, just in a reverse order. We are going to start with double crochet stitches and we are going to work 1 double crochet into each of next 7 stitches. When you have that, join next 2 stitches with a double crochet 2 together stitch, and then work 1 double crochet into the very last stitch of the row. Now, if you're a couple of chains short here, and yes, that happened to me many times before, that's why I am mentioning this here, there are two options. You can either use a chainless technique and create those last stitches without the foundation chain, or you can start over and add more chains to your foundation chain and crochet row 1 one more time. I usually go with the second option just because I prefer cleaner and more consistent look, and frogging just one row isn't a big deal, especially when you're working on larger projects as this one here. But if everything went well with the first row, then go ahead and create a turning chain. This chain here does not count as a stitch in the pattern, it's just here to help us lift the row to a proper height, so chain 2. When you have your turning chain, work 1 double crochet into the very first stitch of the row. Now this is also a row that we are going to repeat all the way to the end of the blanket. It's just a tiny bit different from row 1, and that difference is in the next stitch, which is also a decrease in the pattern. If you remember, in row 1, at the beginning and at the end of the row, we joined 2 stitches together, but here we are going to join 3 stitches instead. Create 3 first halves of the double crochet stitch and then simply join them together. When you have that, work 1 double crochet into each of next 7 stitches. When you finish all 7 double crochet stitches, start repeating. 1 increase, so work 2 double crochet stitches, 1 chain, 2 double crochet stitches again into the same stitch, then work 1 double crochet into each of next 8 stitches, then work on a decrease, join 4 double crochet stitches together, but make sure you skip 1 stitch after first 2 first halves of the double crochet stitch. Then again work 1 double crochet into each of next 8 stitches. Stop 11 stitches before the end of the row, and then we are going to finish it together. Here we are at the end of our second row. Work 1 double crochet into each of next 7 stitches. Join next 3 together with a double crochet 3 together stitch. So create 3 first halves of the double crochet first and then join them together with a yarn over and pull through. End the row with a double crochet stitch and your second row is now complete. You can pause the video here, repeat this row 3 more times, and then come back and I will show you how to switch the yarn. Also, this crochet pattern is super easy to remember, but please keep in mind that you can find the written instructions with some additional tips and tricks on my blog and a PDF with additional sizes in my pattern shops on Etsy, Ravelry and Love Crafts. All the links will be in the description box down below. Now we are going to learn how to properly switch between the colors. This technique is great not only for changing the color, but also for changing the yarn in general. So if you finish the skein of yarn you were using and you need to attach the new yarn, this is one way how to do it. It's super simple. I personally use it all the time and you can do it in just 3 simple steps. The great thing is that it isn't really matter if you're at the end of the row or in the middle of one, the steps are exactly the same. So let's start. I've completed my first 5 rows of the blanket and now is the time to switch the yarn and start working with beige yarn. Since I've completed all the stitches in row 5 and we need our last stitch to be only half done, I'm going to go back and unravel my last double crochet stitch. Then I'm going to complete just the first half of it. So yarn over, insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over again and pull the yarn through the stitch. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull the yarn through first 2. Now when you have that, cut the old yarn, make sure the yarn tail is not too short. Remember, you have to hide it between the stitches later, otherwise the whole blanket will fall apart. Prepare your new yarn, create a loop, grab that loop with your hook and pull the yarn through all the loops on your hook. Now pull the yarn ends to adjust the tension of your last stitch and continue with your new yarn. Just remember, you have to change the yarn color 1 stitch before you actually want for your new yarn to appear in the fabric, otherwise the technique won't work. From here on, continue with your new yarn and finish 5 rows of double crochet stitches made with color number 2, which is in my case beige, and then switch the yarn color again. Continue doing that until you finish 9 segments, each made of 5 rows of double crochet stitches. When you have that, cut the yarn, fasten off and hide the yarn tails between the stitches. Okay guys, that would be all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've learned something new today. I try to share new ideas and crochet techniques with every video I post. So if you have any requests for my future videos, I would be more than happy to hear them. At the moment, I'm working on 2 new crochet patterns, one for a newborn photography outfit and one for baby boy sandals. Hopefully they will be ready in the next couple of weeks. Subscribe to my channel if you like crocheting and you haven't subscribed already, and please consider turning on the notifications so you will always know when I post something new. A huge thank you to all of you who are buying my crochet patterns, watching my videos, reading my blog. Your support means everything. Have a great week, stay creative, and I see you guys very soon. Bye!